everybody, welcome back to the Hardcore Fab Shop. I'm obviously back to work on the Jeep rod, and we're on the home stretch now, so stick around because I think by the end of the video we'll be able to have a pretty good idea of what this thing's going to look like rolling down the road. So I had a bunch of video of this thing going together and just nuts and bolts and pieces and parts, and started editing it together, and it was really kind of boring, so I just chucked all that in the trash, and we're going to start over from here. I am going to, however, cover some of the problems that I had to deal with on this thing, though, so you guys can kind of see, that it's not all just sunshine and rainbows. In real life, there's things that you've got to take care of and do. I don't really like showing all my difficulty side of things, but at the same time, I do think it's important that everybody knows that it's not like what it is on TV, where it just magically all goes together and nobody else has problems. So I'll address all those here in a second and show you guys, I guess, a walk around of what all we've got done so far. And then after that, my plan is to get the body over there off the table and get it sit down over here on the chassis and get a good idea of what everything's going to look like. Hopefully there's not more problems here underneath this valve cover. That one actually looked pretty decent underneath there. Let's see what this one looks like. Yeah, looks pretty decent too. It's not all sludged up or anything. I don't see broken parts laying on the top of it, so that's all good. That's one little chunky there. I don't know what that is. I'm gonna look at this a little bit closer and make sure that we don't have any issues going on over here on this side. So I was really just popping that valve cover off there because I was shooting an intro for the video, right? And I really didn't expect to see anything in there since there wasn't really anything on the other side. But there is a little bit of stuff in here to see, so I guess I'll flip the camera around here and let you guys see it now that I've actually got a light on here and I can see in here really, really good. So this is kind of hard to hold the light and the video, but this little chunk here came out of there to begin with. And then I found this one over in the corner, and there's another little chunk of something. And then when I got over here inside the motor, you can kind of see, let me move this around here, you can kind of see there's like some fuzz in there of some sort. And then there's a bunch of crud down here in that bottom of that valley right there. And there's a little bit of sludge over here on this side. I mean, it's not a new motor, so we would expect to see a little bit of something in there. But all of that right down in there is very, very concerning to me, personally. There's another big chunk of something right there. Let me see if I can get that out. It's really hard to hold the camera and the light at the same time. That's mushy. Don't know what that is. Maybe more of this insulation type stuff or whatever it is that's here. It's kind of stuck around this one push rod too. Not a good scenario. Sorry, I'm trying to video for you guys at the same time that I'm trying to learn for myself what's really going on here. I need another hand, really. There's a big chunky of something right there. Yeah, there's some more chunky stuff down there in that corner. So I think after looking at some of this stuff here, it might be maybe a valve guide seal. I'm going to take it over here, I'm going to clean it up, and we'll get a little better look at it real quick and kind of go from there and see what we've got. There's some other junk in there too, so I don't know where we're at this point yet. So I guess for now, I'll send you guys over to the video that I had already shot that was what I thought was going to be our video for this week, and go from there. And I'll come back to you when I know a little bit more about what it is that we're actually dealing with here. All right, so let's talk about the steering. The steering, I had a video on that here just, a couple weeks ago or whatever. Most of you probably have already watched that now, and I screwed up in that video. So the steering on this thing is, or was, or is, or whatever, backwards at this point right here. If you turn it left, it goes right, and you turn it right, it goes left. So I realized that right as I finished that video, but I wanted to get you guys a video uploaded and everything, and I thought, well, maybe nobody will even notice. Of course, it was the first comment, I think, probably in the video, but that's here nor there, not that big of a deal. So I'll tell you what I did to remedy this problem. Let me first say, I had a bunch of people, or not a bunch of people, but I had a few people be like, well, how did you not even notice that, or whatever, blah, blah, blah. Like I said, didn't notice it right at the end. I should have noticed it beforehand when I was putting it together, but I didn't. But, you know, I run a car lot, I run Hardcore Fab Shop, I am doing YouTube, and I am, you know, filming the YouTube and editing the YouTube while I'm doing all the fabrication side of things and putting all this stuff together. And I'm just a dude. So I let all the other things that I had going on screw this thing up. And I'm usually pretty good at that, and usually pretty good at managing all my time and my mental abilities there to concentrate on something like this. But that one I messed up, so this is what it is. And now to fix it, though, I mean, that's the thing. Everybody messes up, so it's all a matter of what do you do to fix your mess ups, right? So I went back and forth on what to do with this. I was going to go ahead and just flip the pitman arm over, put it on the top, and it would have been a push-pull scenario in the right direction. It would have been perfectly fine. That's actually the way Hookers and Blow and Old Crow are both set up. Does not work on this truck, though, or on this Jeep. And the reason why it doesn't work on this Jeep is the frame sits so much higher on this, since it's a static suspension truck. The other ones have air ride, and the frame is dropped so low down to the ground in relationship to the axle that it being up on top of there isn't a big deal. So this, if I turn this up in here, the angle of that bar would be huge, and I can flip the bar to be on top of that arm down there on the end, but it still wasn't a real great angle. And besides that, the even bigger problem with that is we've already got a nice set of headers bought for this Jeep, and if we flip this bar up, it's going to be right there in the way of the headers. So cannot flip the pitman arm over. That just doesn't work. The other option would have been to do something along the lines of, you know, trying to cut out the frame and drop the whole steering box down and yada, 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 which would have been a lot more fabrication and a lot more work to do. Also could have tried to find another steering box, but the other steering boxes that I found were extremely expensive, and this one was a $50 salvage yard deal. So in relationship to spending $400, $500, $600, even $700 on some of the other boxes that might have worked, what I opted to do was go for a cheaper route and just retain all of this. It's already all built and already in place, and buy a box that we can put right here just inside the firewall of the Jeep that does a reverse input. Let me actually grab that. That's up here behind you guys on the cart. So to fix that, I've got this little box here. This is a reverse box for your steering setup to where you can turn it the other direction. This is a lot of times used on rack and pinion steerings and things like that, where you're putting those in and they're going the opposite direction of what you need them to do. But it's going to work in our scenario as well. So what I've done to mount this in here is I've made a little tab to bolt it in. It's just got a couple bolts at the bottom of it, just inside the firewall area, just off the floor, and it'll be in here pretty similar to about like this. And then I'll have to cut up the shaft that we've already made, and it's got the U-joint already welded for this end on it. I'll just cut that off. We'll stick another U-joint on there that'll attach to here, and then that attaches to, you know, that goes through the floor, and then it'll reattach our steering column on the other end and go up. So that's what I've got to do that. I've already got the mount in the floor. Had to do that before we painted everything, of course. So that's already in there. It's already done, and this is already taken care of. So that's how I fixed the steering situation. So another biggie that I was having some issues with was the brake pedal assembly. I've got one that has got a really long pedal on it so that it has a better feel underneath your foot when you're actually pressing on it. It gives you a little more leverage and everything that way, since you don't have a brake booster and stuff to go along with it. I like that scenario because it feels better under your foot, but it creates its own set of problems on some vehicles, and this Jeep being one of them. The fact that the firewall is not very big or very tall on this Jeep makes it to where you kind of have some interference issues. We're only looking at, right around about 7 inches, and this whole assembly from up here at the top to the bottom is 18 inches down here to the pedal. So you can kind of see there to there. We don't have a lot of room because then the floor starts sloping off, and as the floor starts sloping off, that takes away any of our stroke on our pedal. So we've got it set here now, and we've got just enough stroke here to have a pretty good pedal before it bottoms out on the floor. Originally, I had intended for both of these master cylinders to be down here in this area below this lip up here, but that ended up just not being able to happen because of that slope down there on the bottom side. But honestly, I think it kind of gives it a cool look with them sticking up there. They're pretty well flush right here along the front, so that's kind of cool. And then I think having the Wilwood sticking through and everything is all right. So what I end up having to do is I just cut this whole section out through here and stuck another piece of round bar in there, bent it all around, tacked it all in. So it actually all looks like it's supposed to be there. Doesn't look too bad at all to me. I like it. And then also over here, while we're here, we had to patch in this firewall. I didn't want to spend a whole bunch of time on trying to patch a bunch of little holes, and I didn't want to build a whole new something, so I actually just tucked some panels and just laid in here and kind of tacked them in. Has that same kind of look and feel as everything else does, going on through here. So I think it works, and it got everything accomplished what we need to accomplish, and did it in a manner that was, efficient and didn't cost the customer a lot of money. I did go ahead and throw that reverse gearbox in there so you can see how much that sticks out there, and then that puts our steering box about here. So we'll have a little short shaft between the two of them and a couple of U-joints, and that'll end up working out pretty good. And you can see that inside here. So I guess, yeah, you can't see that in there because of, how dark it is under the dash, and everything's black in here, so it's taking away any light that we do get in there. But it's in there, and it fits. Got enough room there to clear the brake pedal and to clear the gas pedal. Also, up inside there, had an issue with the gas pedal as well. The gas pedal sitting at that angle on the floor would not allow you to have the full stroke of the gas pedal, so I end up having to build just a little bit of a riser to bolt the gas pedal to. It ends up being just a piece of round tube with a piece of flat strap on top of it and a couple holes drilled in it. Pretty simple deal, but it's those kinds of things that you got to work through when you're, dealing with something like this that's all custom. So it just is what it is. Another thing you guys have not seen yet is the glove box door area over here. Let me walk around here to the other side and I'll show you that. Man, it's so dark in here with this black, you can't hardly see anything. I've got the big giant ring light over here, and you still can't hardly see it. But there is a little piece in here that we put in to put the battery in right here. So this is no longer, it never was, a glove box door. But even though it looks like one now, it's actually an access panel to be able to get into the battery. Got a plate right here that is going to go over it, and then it matches and looks something like that. It's going to have some quarter turn fasteners in it, so we'd be able just to pop it off real easy, get to the battery if need be for whatever reason. All right, let's give this a try here, see if I can get a video for you guys. So these are the chunkies that I was finding in there when I was first starting, and you can kind of see there it's the shape of it and stuff, and the fact that it's not sticking to a magnet pretty much tells me that it about has to be a valve guide seal, I would believe. So not overly concerned about that. It's definitely going to make the motor smoke, of course, but it's not going to blow it up. Now over here though, we've got some other little funky stuff in here. I think maybe that these pieces are a leaf of some sort they got in there. And then this stuff here is like some insulation or something that was in there, and I kind of rolled it into a little sharp piece that it is now, but was kind of fluffy, more like this one before. So you can kind of see when you roll it, it starts to roll up and get into a little sharp point. So since this isn't my motor, I'm going to let Brent take it from here and decide what he wants to do with it. I don't know if there's really a right or wrong answer, honestly. I mean, if it's already been ran before and it had whatever was in it then running it some more without having that in it isn't going to hurt it any more than it's already done. But at the same time, I don't know, you could argue shouldn't run it because then it'll do more damage than it's already done. So it's really just however you want to look at it, in my opinion. So since it's not mine, I'm going to let him make that call, and we'll go from there. But for now, I'm just going to keep moving forward and try to knock out some more stuff, like putting this carburetor back on here. Train, so I'll just fast forward here for a second. All right, well, train's gone, that's on. I do want to go ahead and fix this situation right here. We've got a plug and the end of a hose on the end of a fitting. I think we might as well just take that all apart and try to use the plug to put it in the hole and get rid of the extra chance of losing some antifreeze there. The water pump on this thing did look like it was leaking at the gasket on the motor, like maybe it wasn't quite installed correctly. So I went ahead and popped that off, threw some new gaskets in there, painted it while it was off, because why not? Painted the motor up a little bit too while it was apart, just to, you know, make it look a little bit better, at least for time being anyways. So that stuff is already all done. Did the motor mounts too while we was at it. Cleaned up the balancer and the pulley, yada yada yada. It's kind of some of your basic stuff that, you know, it's a part and it's right there. It doesn't take that long to do, and it does make a world of difference on the way it looks. So that stuff is all done. Something we have not talked about is the transmission. So probably notice the transmission looks different or cleaner or nicer than the one that was in it before. That's because it's not the same transmission. I screwed that one up. I actually had everything all apart and had the transmission just sitting on the forks, and I had Connor cleaning it, and I left it on the forks and forgot about it overnight, and came back the next morning and it had fell off the forks and hit the floor and busted the bell housing on it. So the only thing I could do at that point was give him one of mine. So that's one of my transmissions. It's still a 400, same thing. Obviously in better condition now than the other one. So there is that. So that was another problem or something that we had to work through here. The rear tires, we got the rear tires in. Check those out. We got some new bigger ones. I think they're going to fill the wheel well better. We'll know here in just a little bit when we actually get the body on there. And I also got a front bumper on this thing. Just kind of threw a piece of channel iron up there that mimics what a Jeep had originally on the front. I guess we're going to have to green that out. I thought it was going to be black originally, but after looking at all the pictures of the old Jeeps to try to see, you know, what they had on there for logos and stuff, most of them were green. So I think all of them are green. So we'll probably go ahead and paint that one green to kind of match everything else. And I've got some fittings now that just came in a little bit ago for the fuel system at the back. So I'm going to get those installed in there before the body goes on. And that'll get us pretty close to the point where I think we're ready to go ahead and try to sit the body back on here and see what this thing's going to look like. Well, like I said, I got to take care of this real quick because I can't let our boy be rolling around with stuff like this out in the open. That wouldn't be any good. Well, I think now I know why there was a piece of hose on there and a plug on the hose instead of just a plug in the water pump. That will not come out. I'll have to get creative on that. Well, it's either twisting off or it's coming loose. Probably twisting off. Is it going?
Is there any?
It turned.
Did it? New threads.
I really thought it was going to twist off. All right, let's move the shop around and get this thing rolled forward and put the body on. Well, we got the body back on there, and we've decided, I guess, what we're going to do for the motor here is to drain the oil out and see what we've got down in here. And then if it doesn't look much different than it did or what we were expecting it to look like, then we're going to just fill it back full of oil and go for it. So what are you seeing? Any big chunkies coming out yet?
No chunkies. It's got some weird color in there.
Looks like it might have a little bit of water in it.
Yeah. It's kind of...
Actually, it looks good.
Yeah, I don't really see anything else coming through there. Other than a little bit of milky stuff. So the stuff that came out of the oil pan looks pretty good. This is the stuff out of the filter. I don't have a filter cutter to actually open it up, and I didn't want to make a big mess, but no sparklies in there, no chunks. So I asked Brent about that, and he said just go forward with it, put some oil back in there, and we're going to run it, and we're going to see what happens. And I feel a lot better about it now, you know, seeing what was actually inside the filter and everything. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to see what happens, and I'm excited for it. This thing is looking sick now. I got the body sitting on here, which you guys have already kind of seen. Got the windshield stuck up there and the grill up there. Those both need painted. I was waiting for a workbench to work on them. You know, I didn't want to work on the floor. Old, don't like that. So there you go. The exhaust is just stuck up there right now for mock-up. Just got a couple bolts in it so you guys can see what it looks like. And you'll also see those bigger tires back there on the back. I think that makes a world of difference. It really does. It's such a small thing, but it's a huge difference. So there you go. I'll flip the camera around here, give you guys a little bit of a walk around of it, and well, I guess we're going to call this video done. Appreciate you guys watching, and I'll see you guys on the next video.